Welcome back to Propaganda Watch. I'm your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and this week on the D program, I'm going to ask you to cast your mind back to the beginning of this phony, ginned-up Corona world order crisis, way back in March of this year, when I warned that there was going to be a propaganda vector by which one old and perhaps long in the tooth globalist scaremonger story was going to be swapped out for another, newer, more vibrant globalist scaremonger story in order to better control and micromanage every aspect of your life. Yes, if you haven't noticed it by now, you are about to notice it on a large scale, specifically the connecting of one globalist-backed, agenda-pushing scaremonger story with another globalist-backed, agenda-pushing scare story designed to spur the public into action of various sorts, or to design more specifically to allow governments to crack down on the public in various ways. And I think it's easy to see how those two agendas go together, but we are going to see that linked in the public imagination more and more going out from here. Yes, climate change, coronavirus, whatever ginned up crisis we have to give the public in order for them to swallow our snake oil medicine, which consists of complete technocratic control over their lives. If you have not watched that particular episode of the Propaganda Watch series, I will suggest you go back and do so. It's under the title Coronavirus and Climate Change. I will, of course, link it up in the show notes so you can go and watch it and see some of the particulars of that report, again, from back in March, where we were noting people like May Bove of 350.org, noting that the Corona world order is an example of how we can impose incredible restrictions and change society overnight, or Ed Conway arguing in the pages of the Sunday Times that the coronavirus could be the trigger for the new industrial revolution. The money quote from that particular article being, "Hardcore climate activists have long railed against economic growth. Oh, stupid people rising out of poverty. It's horrible. And in the months ahead, they may have their wish granted, as GDP growth from China to Europe and the US is hammered by coronavirus. Yay! Lockdowns shut down the economy. People out of work. People in food lines. Yay! That's such a win for the environment," or something. Whatever excuse we have to come up with. That is the mentality of the people that we're dealing with. And of course, the logic of that has only continued to play out in its inevitable way since that time. Again, back in March, 6 months ago, we've seen, of course, the World Economic Forum and the Great Global Reset and the Build Back Better slogan, that ubiquitous slogan for 2020 and forward that is coming up everywhere now. Yes, it seems like Agenda 2030 has just been moved up a decade. And yes, it is, once again, as we sit here now at the 6-month mark of this ginned up phony crisis, it is worth once again cogitating on the fact that this is not just a happenstance. This is part of an agenda. It is a continuity of agenda that we are seeing from the old paradigm of, oh my god, that life-giving CO2 gas is going to kill us all, to, oh my god, this coronavirus is going to kill us all. Asterisk, well, not really, but anyway, give up all your rights. And the latest iteration of this came out just last week from our old friends at CNN, who were pumping this under the title, "The pandemic didn't solve climate change. This week's disasters are proof," which starts by noting that if you thought COVID-19 restrictions like enforced lockdowns and social distancing would put a lasting dent in our collective carbon footprint and save the world from warming, you were mistaken. Earlier this year, in the midst of a horrific news cycle and a rapidly mounting death toll, that notion was a welcome silver lining to the pandemic. As people around the world stayed at home, unemployed and getting broke and starving to death to stop the spread of the coronavirus, greenhouse gas emissions from the energy and transport industries plummeted, dropping to record lows. But it may have given some a false sense that the worst effects of climate change were being mitigated. They're not. Cue scary music, and of course cue the inevitable references to recent wildfires and hurricane activity, as if it's unprecedented in human history and we've never seen the climate change before, ever in the history of the world. Why is it changing now? It's because you are out there doing all of that horrible, life-giving economic activity to sustain yourself and your family, you dirty, horrible human being, you. yada, 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 which of course is all based on easily demonstrable lies. Actually, the worst kind of lies because they're generally unfalsifiable, as I have talked about at length in various work that I've done on the subject in the past. I will reference you specifically to a video that I did 4 years ago on weather is not climate that debunked all of these notions about this extreme weather being proof.
This is the Great Corbett Report. I'm only recording the first 5 or so minutes. Please, if you just go over on YouTube and watch the whole thing. Explains everything. Thank you.